Florida State has been an absolute player in this whole operation. So I have my thoughts right here. We're about to bring on Josh Newberg to unpack this with him and get his thoughts. I want to kind of set the table for him just a little bit. Florida State right now has the number 6 portal class. It's early in the whole process. That window is going to obviously close down here, and I guess it is sub 40 days, 30-something days left in the first window. Average of 81 grade. And I think that Florida State is going to be a player in the portal. Obviously, they have been in the past, but I want to kind of just look to the future as to why I believe Florida State will be one of the big dogs when it comes to the transfer portal. And the first is because they're close. Like, a lot of what we can talk about with Florida State is they've had some promising success. Like, you've seen flashes on the field, and I think they're just a couple of pieces away from getting to being a ACC title team or being a team that competes in big-time bowl games in late December, early January. Like, the transfer portal, in some ways, you use it to fix appliances. It's not always like, hey, we just got to add depth. Sometimes it's, hey, that doesn't work. We know that we can get somebody who can make that work, a.k.a. Fentrell Cypress, putting him at corner. That would be a major upgrade. That would be an appliance fix for Florida State. And so what I say is they're close, all right? And with the portal, you're able to get past just close. Being 1 to 2 pieces away, it's made for the transfer portal. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, we would love to have you at the party. Also, follow me on the socials at JDPiquel on Twitter and on Instagram. So keeping in that same vein of they're close, they're 1 to 2 pieces away, I think we're getting to the point with Florida State where 2023, we'll talk to Josh about this, but it could be expected to be the year for Mike Norvell. It's going to be his 4th season. And they have grown with him, the fan base has, and they've been patient to a degree and seen him succeed now in this year going 9-3. This is going to be the year where they expect the ACC title. Like, Florida State's fan base and Mike Norvell, I compare it to like a dating relationship. Winning 9 games, that's fun. Going on dates in the beginning of a relationship, that's fun. That's awesome. Meet the parents. You date for the better part of 3 years. At a certain point, it's going to be, okay, let's put a ring on this. Like, dating is great. Winning 9 games is great. But you and I both know that's not the expectation here. You know that's not the standard. That's not what we expect here as Florida State fans. We want you to win the whole conference. And with the nature of the ACC, I think that's going to be a little bit more doable. At least you can talk yourself into that being more doable this coming season. Clemson's going to have a new quarterback. Kid looks like an absolute baller, but it's a new quarterback nonetheless. It'll be his first year as a starter. UNC, they lose their offensive coordinator, the man behind Drake May. He's now gone to Wisconsin. Does that change things? Miami, we keep expecting them to get up off the map, but they haven't done anything here in the first year under Mario Cristobal. So for Florida State, next year is expected to be the year, in my humble opinion. And the transfer portal is a way to shore up that roster and make sure that you finish through and follow through on those expectations. So the transfer portal, in my opinion, is becoming more and more of a need if you want to win the ACC. Now, here's the other piece that's crucial, and Josh can talk about this as well. They're going to have access to top talent. Jaheim Bell is a perfect example. Jaheim Bell was a guy that was offered by Florida State out of high school, and according to his mother, they were pretty excited about Florida State. Like, that offer meant a lot to him. But given where the program was at when he was offered, it wasn't an appealing option. They weren't in a competitive space for someone of Jaheim Bell's caliber. He knew, if I go to Florida State at this point in time, I'm not going to be able to achieve my goals on the field. Fast forward the tape, Jaheim Bell does what he does at South Carolina. Florida State continues to trend upward under Mike Norvell. And now Jaheim Bell says, you know what? I can go to Florida State and get done what I want to get done. I can go be a Nole and be able to win and win consistently on the field. I can be developed to getting to the next level and making generational money for me and my future family. I think that says something. So the competitiveness of the program is at a different spot. On top of that, the NIL game, we all know it's a real thing. It sounds like they're starting to become more and more of a player in that space. At the very least, they're starting to push more and more to get into that space and to be one of the top dogs. And so if you have a good program and you have competitive NIL, I'm just telling you, that gives you access to the top tier, the creme de la creme, if you will, of the guys available in the transfer portal. Don't believe me? Fentrell Cypress, at the time of this video being live, is currently in Tallahassee. So keep an eye on the Noles. I think they're close. I think this is expected to be the year. They're cool with dating. They want a ring on it. Does the fan base and Mike Norvell. They're going to push for top talent. Now, welcoming in the man, the myth, the legend, a friend of the program. He does the Inside Scoop on the On3 YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed. You get the hard count and the Inside Scoop. The absolute GOAT, Josh Newberg. Josh, how we doing, my man?
Feeling good, feeling ready. Roll party.
You're looking good, man. You've been a busy man. I mean, live commitments. You had the Inside Scoop this morning. I mean, you're staying on camera, brother.
Yeah, my third time live. I mean, we did our first live 2 days ago, and today I've done 3 just in 1 day. So I'm raring to go. This is the season. It is pushing time.
Pushing time. I think you dubbed it on Twitter yesterday. It's Hayes Fawcett season now. With commitments.
It is. Get those graphics fired up. Don't run out of ink.
Can't. You absolutely can't. I want to talk about Florida State with you, having been covering that program for an extended period of time. What is the model for Florida State when it comes to the transfer portal? Because you and I talked a little bit before the show. They have been a frequent flyer when it comes to using the portal.
Yeah, double-digit portal signees the last couple years for Florida State, and I think it's going to happen again this year. I think that Florida State still has some needs. Mike Norvell came in, purged that roster during the COVID year, still piecing it together, and he has done an incredible job in the transfer portal. When you go from Jermaine Johnson to Jared Verse, I mean, even Jordan Travis is a transfer portal candidate. So what is happening at Florida State is that they are just infusing the roster with talent. Mike Norvell's done a great job of pinpointing the talent that fits the needs for that program. And I don't think, though, that the goal every year, JD, is to sign 12 or 13 transfer portals. I think you want to eventually get that down to like 3 or 4. Currently, Florida State is doing something to the equivalent of living paycheck to paycheck, right? You bring in a one-year guy like a Jermaine Johnson who goes pro. You bring in the very next year a Jared Verse who plays so well that he might go pro. Then now you got to bring in another guy to fit that. Okay, slow down. Mike Norvell's doing it. And yes, you can live paycheck to paycheck very successfully, but it's not ideal. So for Florida State to really hit the sweet spot that they want to in the transfer portal, it'll look something more like adding 3 or 4 pieces to the roster rather than a total of 10 or 12 pieces to the roster from the transfer portal.
And they've currently got 3 guys in the boat via the portal. Obviously, Jaheim Bell being a big get for them commitment-wise. What is the needs that you see for this program going forward? Because like you said, they hit on a lot of these portal guys. Jared Verse, I mean, where are they without Jared Verse this season? The way that he impacted that LSU game. Fentrell Cypress, like we talked about in a previous segment, like you and I talked about before the show, he's on campus, #1 player in the transfer portal according to our portal rankings. What are the needs that you see for Florida State that they need to acquire via the portal?
We're only, about 10 days into the portal? And I think Florida State has already filled 2 of their 3 biggest needs. I think defensive tackle, big need. They get Darrell Jackson coming up from Miami, who started for them last year, has a family situation going on. He's from Tallahassee, so he gets the waiver. He's going to transfer without having to sit out. It is his second transfer. And then they get Jaheim Bell. You talked about him at the front end. Well, guess what? He is a huge piece. I know people are saying, oh, he's a tight end. He's way more than a tight end if you've ever watched Jaheim Bell. And Jaheim Bell, like you said, was recruited by Florida State in the 2019 cycle. He was a commitment to, he was the 2020 class. But he was briefly committed to rival Florida. He decommitted. He took a visit to Florida State. They just couldn't get the traction that they needed. FSU then went out and signed 6 tight ends since Jaheim Bell, and not a one of them has made a meaningful impact the way that Jaheim Bell will in Mike Norvell's offense. So after that, I think the third biggest need right now is defensive back. And like you said, they might be addressing that right now as we speak. One of the best portal defensive backs, Fentrell Cypress, is on campus in Tallahassee. I think that they would gladly sign him. You got a couple others, a couple offensive lineman needs that they definitely got to meet. But overall, 10 days into this thing, Florida State's doing really well in the transfer portal.
And Josh, what's the logic behind this? Because in some way, shape, or form, you could imagine it like shopping, like at the grocery store. Okay, I need eggs, I need milk, I need flour. Is it I need these things and then I'm out of the store? Or is it, okay, I got what I need, I might just peruse around a little bit more and, okay, I don't really need another wide receiver, but hey, one's available, he's an in-state kid, he's highly touted, maybe we add him to our roster. How much of that is going on between wants and needs at Florida State, in your opinion?
When Mike Norvell arrived at Florida State, one of the biggest needs was just offensive skill players. They lacked dynamic offensive skill players. So could I see them taking a wide receiver? If he was a dominant outside guy, I think that's what they are looking for. But they took 4 transfer wide receivers last year. 4 transfer wide receivers. Obviously, Micah Pittman and Johnny Wilson, everybody heard about them. They did great. But Deuce Spann is also developing. And Winston Wright from West Virginia unfortunately got in a car accident before the season started. He almost made a comeback at the end of the year, but he's going to be back next year, and he could be a 1 or 2 for FSU. So I don't know if they're going to hit the portal for wide receiver, but if there's a dynamic offensive skill guy available that wants to come to FSU, they'll definitely give him a look.
You don't go broke getting paid. Same thing as you don't turn away top talent if they want to come on campus and if they want to suit up in your uniform. So I'm 100% in lockstep with you there, Josh. I wanted to just say this about Mike Norvell. I have just been so impressed listening to him in different post-game press conferences. Win or lose, I feel like he just talks and cares about the right things. And it's easy to listen to a press conference and say, okay, that's just coach speak. Yeah, maybe to a degree, but I think it was post-Florida. He just talked so much about the process internally. Like, he was happy they won the game, and he mentioned that a couple of times, but he continues to talk about the process, focusing on us, focusing on what we do, improving in-house. And honestly, you know who else talks about that a lot is Kirby Smart and Nick Saban, guys that got a whole lot of jewelry. So is Mike Norvell, Nick Saban, or Kirby Smart? That's probably too much weight to heap on his shoulders. But I'm just saying, I think they got a great one in Mike Norvell right now, man in the helm at Florida State. So, Josh, my question for you then is, what is the state of Florida State football? Is next year supposed to be the year in terms of winning the ACC?
The standard has slipped a little because FSU fans are mightily excited for a 9-win season. And over the course of FSU history, a 9-win season isn't something that FSU fans typically get excited for. But if you've seen where this team has been since Jimbo Fisher left in 2017, through the Willie Taggart tenure, into Mike Norvell's first year with COVID, I mean, there is plenty of reason for celebration in Tallahassee over a 9-win season. Now, they're not going to celebrate a 9-win season, though, every year. This is the one time I think that they're going to celebrate a 9-win season because, again, now that you get there, the standard, again, becomes the standard, which is competing for and winning the ACC on a yearly basis and being a player for the college football playoffs year in, year out. I think ultimately, if Mike Norvell can do that, he can get up in the ranks of some of the other coaches you just named.
It's like dating, right? I mean, dating is great for, 3 years. Date for someone for 3 years is a long time, but on that 4th year and beyond, it's like, okay, what are we? Like, hey, are we just going to be a 9-win team under Mike Norvell, or can we take that next step in getting back to, like you said, the previous standard of winning the ACC? So I think you're on the money there, Josh. Anything on the recruiting trail with Florida State before we move on?
Oh, man. They have some visitors on campus. We went over a couple of the transfers that are there, but also 4-star wide receiver Andy Jean. Committed to the Florida Gators. You got to love a good in-state battle. Didn't really see this one coming, but he steps foot on campus in Tallahassee today for an official visit. Miami made a run at him a couple weeks ago. He kind of shut that down. We'll see what Florida State can do, but they got Jaheim Williams, a 5-star wide receiver out of South Florida. Gene is from Miami Northwestern, also a highly coveted receiver and committed to their rival, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, big things happening in Tallahassee all weekend.
Big things popping, little things stopping. Signing day right around the corner. We'll see who the Noles can land at the 11th hour and put pen to paper, and also who they can get via the portal, as that will obviously stretch on into January, and then post-spring we'll have a whole nother window, so it'll be a whole lot of fun. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.